All right, we are live. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 21st Litchfield School Board meeting. The time is now 5:30. We're going to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any changes to tonight's agenda from any board members? We are down a board member at the moment. We are expecting Mr. Shoemaker to join about 45 minutes into the meeting, so we will go ahead and proceed, and he'll join us when he arrives. Items on consent. Any committee board member would like to move anything off consent tonight? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move into summary of non-public actions from May 2nd, 2025. Ms. Ames motion to approve the April 16th, 2025 non-public meeting minutes. Mr. Shoemaker seconded that motion, and that motion carried 3-0. Mr. Shoemaker motion to approve the nominations as presented. Mr. DeWitt seconded that motion, and that motion passed 3-0 as well. The nominations were as follows. Molly Norton, CHS Facts teacher. Kimberly Howe, LMS Special Services teacher. Corey Solzen, LMS Tech Ed teacher. Samantha Perry, GMS Music teacher. Chad Seaver, LMS Grade 5 Math teacher. Kaylees Peters, District Speech Language Pathologist assistant. Natalia Tower, LMS ELA teacher. And Wanda Mager, did I pronounce that right?
Sure.
Yes, GMS SET teacher. Ms. Ames moved to adjourn the non-public session at 9:45 p.m. Mr. Shoemaker seconded that motion, and that also carried 3-0. We're going to move right into presentation and recognitions this evening, and we have the end of the year Tiger Tribe report, and we have a crew here from, it looks like, Griffin Memorial. Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. So for the past couple of years, at different points, I've mentioned the Tiger Tribe, and usually around this time I do some sort of end-of-year report, and I brought the student council, but this year we decided to bring the Tiger Tribe and highlight some of the things that we're doing there. So we put together a quick little slideshow to describe what the program is, and then hand it off to the people who can speak best of it. So the Tiger Tribe came out of recognizing post-COVID. We saw this nationwide, statewide, and even more locally, that coming out of COVID, coming out of lockdowns, there was just a hiccup with kind of just recreating and creating connections. And so we tried to attack that by coming up with something that could increase in-school connections between staff, between students, between staff and students. And from that, and the work of our student support committee, came the idea of the Tiger Tribe. And so it was kind of thought about and rolled around for about a year, and then finally last summer, summer 23, we finally put it into practice. And so it has those three goals, which are to build the student-staff relationships, increase the sense of community, and strengthen school connectedness. Last year, we rolled it out, and we had 26 pairs. This year, we were able to roll it out with over 40 pairs, and that's GMS staff, and it even extends to SAU staff. So Mr. O'Connell, Dr. Taylor had buddies, and really the purpose of it, and in trying to do this in previous jobs, one of the issues has always been you come up with a concept and you pair the student with the adults, and then kind of no one knows what to do from there. And so what we did is we spent a good amount of time coming up with a little bit of resources, ideas, and then kind of the clear expectations. And the clear expectations were just kind of weekly check-ins, however that works for you. With my buddy, it becomes weekly lunch bunches, and different pairs have different groups. But also we thought in order to make it successful, we needed to kind of bookend it. And so each year we've done a kickoff at the beginning of the year, and we've done an end-of-the-year celebration. Ours was just last Wednesday, and of the 41 pairs, 38 of them attended. So you can see that not only was it part of the program, but it was something that was kind of desired and wanted. So at the end of both years, we also survey both the students that were participating and the adults. And so 91% report that there are adults that care about them at GMS. 100% had positive, very positive things to say about the Tiger Tribe program. Those are the participants. I already spoke. 26 became 41 this year, and this year's buddies, a good number of them were actually last year's buddies too. So it wasn't just a one-off; it was a continued relationship. So, and that's from just last week. Was that last week? Or was that the beginning of the year?
Yeah, no,
that was last week's. 38 pairs in the gym with ice cream and games, and somehow it stayed within control. So, but I could speak about the background, but I really wanted to share today was to hear the stories of the Tiger Tribe. So I invited 3 GMS friends. I have Elliot, Kayla, and Rosie, and they brought with them their buddies. And so I'm going to turn the microphones over to them so they can kind of speak about what the year's been like and what the time with their buddies been.
Come on up.
Come on up. Slide some chairs so you don't sit.
Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for coming tonight.
There you go, Kayla. That's yours. We're gonna put Kayla right in front of the microphone. She's probably gonna do all the talking,
Hey
right?
Kayla, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing about your program.
So let's go first.
Anyone? Kayla, you want to go first?
How about we start with what was your favorite part?
I like how I got had fun with my Tiger Tribe.
Yeah.
What are some of the things we did?
We had fun.
We had lots of fun. We had lunch together sometimes, which was really cool. Kayla was able to. We did it both ways. I went to the lunchroom, and you got to come into. Where did you go with me? Into my classroom when the other kids weren't there, which was awesome. My classroom's set up a little different because of the program I have, so I have all kinds of cool stuff. I have dollhouses, right? We have dollhouses and all kinds of fun things we got to play with during lunch, which was cool. About every morning, what did we do in the morning?
We had fun.
We saw each other almost every morning we were in school. We were able to get a fist pump.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, the best thing about being Kayla's Tiger Tribe buddy is if you're having a bad day and you run into Kayla in the hallways, like that, turns around. You get a big smile and there's my Tiger Tribe buddy, hi, and a big hug or a fist pump, and it just turns the whole day around.
Rosie, what did you and Mrs. Clinton-Jones talk about during your lunch tips? Because you were chatting all the time.
What we usually talk about, just kind of whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, like whatever's going on, right? Do you want to read what you had, or do you want to refer to? What do I have in my
Really?
office that you love to look at, or
Oh, she's got a shelf of things.
what
kind of things?
Yeah. So we like those, and all my little, I don't know, little sensory tools, right? Yeah, have those. But yeah, generally Rosie and I just have lunch together. That's what we do. Just the two of us and sit and talk about whatever. I tend to see her in the morning and the afternoon, and then I drop off and just mess about. We usually have lunch together. That's how we've connected this year.
Love that.
Want me to start?
I'll start.
Excellent. Go for it.
So I have fun most of the time because every Friday we play games and I get to pick a buddy and stuff, and she's really competitive like me.
The truth comes out.
Do you beat her?
What?
Do you beat her?
Yeah, most of the time. But sometimes she doesn't beat me and I don't beat her. My friend Keegan that I take most of the time beats her
Okay.
Wow.
and me.
And I'm a good loser, right? I'm not a sore loser.
Once in a while.
We've had a lot of fun because it started out just, I see Elliot almost every day because he's in the second grade wing and I'm in the first grade wing, and I go into his classroom a lot, so we see each other. So it just kind of evolved that once in a while we play a game. We might I'll send him a note or those kinds of things, and then I don't know. It turned out to be a lot of fun. So as long as his teacher allows it, which she does, right?
Yeah.
She never said no to us. We play games.
Love it.
Awesome.
So that's our connection.
Yeah.
What's your favorite game to play?
I don't know. There's a lot of games. Probably like Sorry or Headbands.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
It's classic.
Ones or twos
Oh,
get you out.
Yep.
You guys excited for the end of the school year?
Mhm.
Yeah? Awesome. Anything else about the buddies?
Elliot, you and Mrs. McCall,
Sure.
this is your second year together, right? For the
What?
first year?
No, this is our first year.
First year together.
Yeah.
Kayla and
Next
I
year will be our second year, right, Elliot?
Yeah.
will be on kind of our third. Kayla, I was able to become Kayla's buddy partway through the year last year because the person she was paired with wasn't in the building anymore. So the social workers came to me and said, "Hey, she needs a buddy," and I'm like, "Absolutely." So we're on our second year. Last year we were figuring it out, trying to figure out what we wanted to do and how we were going to connect. But this year I think we nailed it.
And Rosie and I, this is our first year, but we already have plans to stay connected next year.
That's great.
Good.
Awesome. I love to hear the program's going to continue.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a really great program. I'm really glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
It starts, I guess, where you think you're doing something awesome. You're like, I'm going to help this kid and I'm going to connect with them and this is going to be great. And it just flips because it becomes like that part of the day that you're like, oh, I'm going to get to see them, or you see them in the hallway, like I said, and it turns it around. So it really is really great for us too. It's definitely given. I don't even know what word I'm looking for.
I see what you mean by that big smile.
And actually, one of the things I was thinking about was like, that's another thing I have to remember, and I have to remember, and the buddies don't let you forget.
Sounds like it's a great break from the normal routine for everybody.
It's a great routine, and in the pairings, what we try to do is also connect kids and adults who may not naturally be paired together.
Yep.
So it's another one. So there are certain ones where maybe it's a former teacher because they had a strong bond, and other times it's someone that they may have never crossed paths with, just to create that there's another kid that cares about you and another adult that also cares about you too. So bringing the full community of the school together. So it's been an excellent program. Thank you guys for coming.
Awesome.
Great job tonight.
Great job. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you very much.
It's
Well
great to
done.
put a face to the program. So thank you all for coming out.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome.
Good job.
Thank you guys. That's me and my buddy in the picture. We somehow shot the little disc back and forth through. I know the exact moment because he somehow shot the disc through the hole in the center and it came right back to the other side, and he couldn't believe it happened. So that's that exact moment. I'm kind of glad they captured it on video. It's been great. I got to participate in the program this year, and it's a little bit different because I'm not necessarily in the building every single day. So with Aiden, I would try and pop down when I was in the building and just go into his class, go into the lunchroom, or where I could find him and check in with him and stuff like that. So, and it was really nice because we were wrapping up last week, and he asked me, he's like, "Are you going to be my buddy again next year?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, if you want me
Awesome.
to." So, you don't know how much of an effect you're having sometimes, like. And the fact that he was like excited to do it again next year, I was like, okay, so this was positive.
good thing. Yeah,
this is
it's
good.
great.
So that was really nice. It's a great program that they're doing this stuff. So
Perfect. All right, Danny.
Yep.
End is near for you, right?
Yeah.
Student rep report. Here we go.
Alright. For spring sports, baseball had a game today at home against Monadnock and are currently 9-3. Softball also had a game today at home against Pembroke and are currently 4-8. Boys lacrosse had an away game today against Co-Brown and they're currently 7-4. Girls lacrosse had a game today at home against Hopkinton and are currently 3-5. And then track and field are going to have a meet called the Wilderness Meet on Saturday the 24th. And girls lacrosse, they did something different today. It was Zoe Bork's sophomore project. and I think it was called Morgan's Message. It's like this whole big thing for this girl, and they all like, the lacrosse girls all wore like matching shirts today, and it had to do with mental health, and it was like a really good thing. Some of the past activities we have was a junior and senior prom, which you can see by the two pictures. That's the prom court. And then on the 15th was a senior project presentation day where all the other grades got a half day. And then this past weekend was a showing of Footloose. Some of the current events we have right now was yesterday we had 8th grade step-up day during first period, and all the kids went into all the different classrooms. They got to see the pig dissection, so they loved that.
Nice.
But then last night we
Mine
had
ran the other way.
last night we had this spring pops concert, and I think that went very well. And then we were supposed to have Spring Fest this week, but it ended up getting moved to next week because of AP testing going down. And then next Monday we have no school. Some of the future activities at Campbell is on the 29th, the Academic Excellent Banquet, and then the 6th all the way up until graduation is Senior Week, and then on the 12th is graduation and the last day of school. But going on at the middle school is Career Day. It went amazing with over 50 careers being representative. Students participated in mock job interviews and filled out mock applications. Today was the last day of the NHSAS testing for the middle school, and only makeup are left. Results are going to be coming through. Students who earned a 3 or 4 or demonstrated improvement will earn a water balloon at field day to throw up at Mrs. Grantham and Mr. Peterson, one for each test. The 6th graders are working on their Entrepreneur Day, learning all things economics and starting their business. Entrepreneur Day is going to be on June 3rd, and the school board is invited to come and shop student wares.
Favorite days.
And then at Griffin, squid is going to be continued to get dissected. The NHSAS is underway in third and fourth grade. The Tiger Tribe celebration was on Wednesday the 14th, and then they are going to have kindergarten orientation on Friday the 16th.
That's it.
Excellent. Lots of exciting things over the next few weeks within the district as well. So appreciate everything that all the administration is doing and all that we continue to do over the next few weeks to make the school year a success.
Yep, it's a busy time.
Sure. All right, we'll move into our first round of community comment on agenda items. Seeing nobody running up to the mic, we'll close our first round of community comment. There is a second opportunity for community comment later in tonight's agenda, and we'll shift it over into correspondence.
Thank you. On May 9th, Christina Harrison emailed the board and district-wide staff circulating an invitation to a sneak preview of Footloose the Musical. On May 9th, Ann Innamarati emailed the board circulating a checks manifest and an EFT manifest. On May 9th, Jan Sullivan emailed the board circulating draft public and non-public minutes from the May 7th meeting. On May 13th, Christina Harrison sent a reminder for the Footloose the Musical preview on May 14th. On May 13th, the superintendent emailed the board regarding a confidential personnel matter. On May 15th, Ron Oblenis emailed the board requesting inventory and utilization information regarding LMS, and there was a response from Mr. Cutter and then from Mr. Oblenis. On May 16th, Renee Burgess emailed the board circulating the draft May 21st, 2025 agenda. On May 19th, Ann Innamarati emailed the board circulating a small manifest for additional checks in EFT. On May 19th, Ron Oblenis emailed facilities and copied the board outlining information he believes is relevant to the RFP. And then on May 21st, Ann Innamarati emailed the board circulating payroll manifests. And that was it.
Okay, thank you for that, appreciate it. And now moving into general business and over to the superintendent.
Yeah, I have a short section today. So just do enrollment every meeting, so it's current enrollment. We're getting slowly up there in kindergarten. I would like it to be higher, but we have 4 more from the last meeting, so, again, I'll say it publicly, we put it out in messages in every avenue that we can. If you have kindergartners, please register your kindergartners so we have accurate numbers when we start to build schedules and stuff like that. We're lagging a little bit where we were last year, even though the birth rate was similar in the equivalent years. So we're hoping there's some more kiddos out there that need to come and get registered. So if you can do that, that would be great. I know the staff at GMS would be more than happy to help. Otherwise, we are exactly where we were last month. No change at any of the 3 schools. So.
Great, thank you for that.
The second thing I have is grant assurances. So this is a yearly thing that the board has to do and to review. That's a long form right there. I think it's about 20 pages, 19, 20 pages. It's sent from the state that to summarize all of it, it's not this simple, but it is for the summary purposes. This is to make sure when we accept grant money that we account for it properly and we're in compliance with all state, federal laws, our own district policies, and that we're following out accurately with our reporting to the state on when we spend that money and how we spend it and the vendors we go through, so on and so forth. So this details all of it. I know Peter and Andrew, you were not at the last couple of meetings.
Yep.
But we have waited to do this most school districts had under recommendations from their attorneys, and you'll see that this is a modified version because there's current litigation involving some of the executive orders from the White House that has a direct effect on some grant money. So if you scroll here, I believe it's the 4th page, you'll see, for example, that this modified version has crossed out some of that language connected to the executive orders because there's litigation not involving us, and this is, everywhere, not just in New Hampshire, but there's litigation involving those executive orders. So the pause from various legal people were just like, if this can wait out, or we don't want to commit to something if that executive order gets overturned, so on and so forth. So the New Hampshire DOE decided to essentially cross out that type of stuff and the grant assurance stuff. That allows, I guess, wiggle room is the best way to describe it. If those are struck down by legal or something is adjusted from those executive orders through all the litigation in the courts, it doesn't have an effect on our ability to access the grant funds. And if they stay, it doesn't have an ability to access the grant funds, and so on and so forth. So we've been putting this through our legal. I heard back from them this morning. They would be comfortable with us going forward to signing this, which we need to do by June 1st anyways if we're going to accept grant funds. I have it for us to sign later today if we're good with it.
As long as the board's comfortable with me signing it, I read it. I mean, we've gone through this process annually, so I'm comfortable with signing it. Then I'm happy to sign it.
So we should be good to go. So this is the hard copy. If you want to send that down. You do have to sign it and then initial. I have to as well.
Yeah, the
initial the
pages.
bottom every single page.
Do I need to sign it in blue pen? Is there any
I
requirements for that?
don't believe so, but maybe we should just in case to be on the safe side.
Maybe to the lawyer.
And that's the grant assurances. So just an update. We're good to sign it. You can sign it like you're doing. We are good to go.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions on it?
No other questions?
To get our application. Go this week, go next week. Oh.
I know, I'm supposed to be waiting for a signal to push the button, as Sarah calls it, for a title.
Oh,
number.
yes.
Yeah. See, I reminded you here. Look at that.
No, I'm still working on it. I'll just say button randomly.
I'll know what it means.
Ms. Starling, we'll turn it over to you.
Yes. All right, so I have updated our financials and transfers. With regard to end of year, I just wanted to give an update that with regard to particularly salaries and benefits, which of course is a very large portion of our budget, the timeline for being able to really hone in on what we have left for the end of the year is June 5th is going to be our last payroll for anybody that elects to do the 21 week payroll system. So that's a good portion of folks in the district. And then on June 12th will be like the end date for that will be the last of the checks that go through for teachers and whatnot. So we'll have a much better idea of what our outlook is going to be at the beginning of June. We have taken a kind of a preliminary look at things, and certainly it looks like we're going to have more than enough to cover our encumbrances. I mean, the warrant articles that were that had passed in March, but beyond that, we just want to be sure that we have the numbers that we think that we have, because lots of bills are still coming in for the next month or so. So with I did want to talk about transfers, actually, I'm sorry, contracted services. For next year, we do have some positions that we have contracted for this year, and we would like to continue on with some of those providers, because while we have those positions filled by the contracted positions, they're still, we're still advertising for them and have not had any applicants. So one of them is Soliant Health. We would like to continue on for the 25-26 school year with the special education teacher that primarily services the students at St. Francis. And then Sunbelt Staffing, we have 2 paraprofessionals and an OT service provider that we've contracted with that we'd also like to continue with for the 25-26 school year. And I will say with both of these companies within their contracts, we do have an early termination clause. So should we have to, should we have applicants in the meantime, we could work with them. But I just wanted to make sure you would feel comfortable with us signing those contracts for the next school year.
No issues from my side.
That money's in the budget for next year, right? It's part of the budget?
Correct. Yes. And then additionally, there's a long-term substitute nurse position that we're going to be meeting over at Griffin. That'll be coming from August to November, and we've had that position posted since March, hoping to get some interest for the long-term position, and we have had no applicants. So Maura has actually reached out to Breton Trova, which is a local nursing staffing firm, and they've given us an estimate of $38,250 that it would cost to contract with them to have a long-term nurse for that time period. We recognize that that's, not an ideal situation, but it looks like that might be the path that we're gonna have to go down. I actually did hear as late as this afternoon that there might be a couple of people that may be applying, but until we see those applications.
What
that might be
school,
something.
what building is that for?
Griffin?
That's for Griffin.
When do we have to make that decision by?
It's gonna be the start of the school year, so I think we're gonna have to make that, we should probably make the decision sooner rather than later. So we make sure we have the staff.
That is not budgeted, correct?
Correct, it would be beyond the cost that we would be paying, the nurse. Certainly that'd be a bigger chunk of money.
Can we wait on this 2 weeks? I'm just curious if by even
Yes.
having a conversation tonight,
Right.
if parents at GMS that
Absolutely.
may or may not be, have nurses that
Yeah.
might be willing to do it for a couple of months, apply, it
Absolutely.
could be worth it.
If I may make a pitch out there, like this can be broken up into days because we're talking subbing, right? So like, I know nursing is, my mom was a nurse and sometimes she would sub for schools, depending on her schedule and stuff like
Right.
that. Some consistency. So if like someone was always available, say like a Monday or a Tuesday or whatever like
Right.
that is appreciated. But we can split this up with multiple different people. So if there are people out there that are just looking to pick up some extra hours, for one reason or another, because I know nursing has a different set of hours than the school day, we're open to those as well. Just throw your name out there, put it in their application thing, and we can have those kind of different conversations. We would love to get down to where if we have to contract, maybe it's only for once or twice a week, right? Because that's a much different rate than it is if you're putting someone in that position every single day. So. Anyone out there, if you're interested in just some work, a couple months in the fall, we would appreciate it, and that would be great, so.
Yeah, so let's hold that thought.
Absolutely. Solar, we actually just had, received an email, prior to coming into this meeting that Eversource, has, let us know that they will be scheduling the installation of the new meter. They have another 10 days to do that, but that's where we're at. With regard to the storage, component, I wasn't able to get an exact date yet. I have since sent another communication to Kay, that essentially she's said that the infrastructure pieces, so getting the pad poured and getting the trench dug across the driveway in a preparation for receiving the storage unit. She said that she can commit to doing that by mid-August prior to the kids coming into school. but that she does believe that it's going to take longer to have the storage container by that time. She definitely thinks it's going to be later, so into the school year at this point.
What do we need to do to escalate?
I mean, we can reach back out to the attorneys. When we reached out back in the fall, I think it was last time, we really dug into the contract. At that point, we didn't have really any momentum on this meter stuff and everything like that. So they said there wasn't a ton we could get out of them, but we can certainly reach back out, make the kind of say we got this going now. Like with this battery pack thing, is there anything more that we can get going with it? My fear is what's going to come back is that we're not taking a financial wash on it yet because it's that consistent rate for electrical at LMS right now, that like $99,000 amount for that, and that doesn't get increased until this thing is built. So we're not taking any financial loss on it other than the goodwill loss, and that's what I think is challenging for all of us because, you know, this is a project that was promised to the district 2 years ago, 3 years ago at this point, and it continues to not get completed and stuff like that. But we can certainly reach back out to the attorneys and see if there's something we can do to.
I'd like to, because the way I see this playing out now, given the current geopolitical environment, and with the mention of tariffs,
Yes.
Kay's words,
Yes.
is that a lot of the manufacturing components that are going into this battery energy storage system or BESS are likely offshore
Right.
and will likely be subject to tariffs, which likely mean increased costs for Dynamic Grid, which will likely mean delays in manufacturing and delays in our delivery, continued delays. So it's not out of the realm of possibility then that this energy storage system will not happen this year.
I mean, I guess my question would be, and I'm thinking off the cuff here, you know, this meter gets set, the thing gets flipped on. I'm simplifying how all this works. Then we're getting the power from it, at least at that point. Like the battery is storage, the thing gets sold off to whoever else gets it, right? And it's like, it is backup for us a little bit if something was to happen. But mainly, I think my understanding of it is Eversource is going to benefit from that additional battery there. I don't know if we can look at getting out, if that's something that of the battery part of it. You know what I mean? Like we have the panels, they're about to be, my understanding, and I could be way off base on this. I don't know. I don't understand the solar fully. But we've gotten our thing, which is the panels connected to our stuff, right? And this thing, meter's gonna be put in, and we're gonna be able to flip the switch, and then we're gonna be getting our energy from solar, right? Is there something we can like now just say like we're good? Does that make sense? I don't.
Credit. Meaning like if we're producing more than what we're using, then we will have credits, and then there would be a credit with the storage as well.
So there's some of that and how that all works. Really, the point of the battery is to reduce your average take across a 24-hour period. So the battery, depending on how they set up the negotiation with the battery, is it grid storage or is it school storage? And then when the sun goes down, instead of pulling from the grid, they pull from the battery, and then it just recharges itself over time during the day. There's two ways that you can have it set up, so I'm not sure how
Yeah,
that
I can
was
share.
done.
Maybe if I can share the contract with you, Dan, and you can.
Yeah, I'll
Help
take a
us
look at it, or I'll
understand
take
it,
a.
It's
It's,
supposed to be
I have
storage
it, I
for
just
us,
shared it
right?
with
Because
a
we
bunch of
talked about the
minutes
electric
to do.
buses, and being able to charge an electric bus at the school.
You know, the idea behind the conversations here were that it would be operational certainly in the summer months, right?
Right.
Where we're getting max capacity out of the array, and that we're saving or storing in the energy storage system the max capacity, and that energy is saved for the lower production months.
yep.
And we're drawing from the savings and from
Yeah.
the batteries in those lower production months, i.e. winter.
Yeah. So it's set up as a mass storage versus as a give and take on a daily basis.
That's how the design of this was intended
Okay.
to work.
So I mean, we could. I will say that we probably have a lot of controllers, inverters that are installed that
We
is
have-
meant to run with it.
We do.
So the concern would then be is we overbought, right, on that piece of mechanical hardware, so be it. But I guess to me is that you would have drastically different electrical swings from, call it mid-March, mid-April, all the way through to like mid-October, and then our electric usage is gonna go through the roof during the winter months.
Yeah, I mean, we see that already. And,
Right.
you know, the way that the pay cycle goes.
Yep, the pay cycle and the energy, so, and a lot of that, right, is to offset the heat pumps.
Yeah.
So heat pumps' primary use of fuel is electricity. So my guess is, the idea is heat pumps are extremely efficient. They're better than just about anything else. Offset it with the solar. Now you've got a benefit of it's free energy, which then becomes free heat that's super efficient. So I get we'll see it now, but I think LMS will get hit harder when we don't have the negotiated price for electricity. So I honestly could go either way, because you're right, the solar panels can run as is. So,
I think one of the benefits though was to save that energy for the, when it's light
Yep.
from 10 to 12 in the afternoon and it's dark the rest of the
I
time.
think it's
so.
helpful to get the facts from the attorney at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if there are any options for the board to consider. On any outs from that contract for the battery energy storage system, because at this point, you know, I can definitely see, I don't know if the board sees it this way, but I can definitely see a path where this thing does not get done this year.
not only do I see that, but Dynamic Grid may just say, I'm gonna lose my shirt on this because of the tariffs, and I'm just not gonna buy the equipment until the price comes back down.
Or, you know, and we've already heard this has been a past discussion where, oh, you know, this facility that is intended to build this doesn't exist.
Right.
And oh, by the way, I've had to change the scope of what we signed in contract because what I sold you was fake.
I got mad at the YouTube TV at that one.
You know, so I do think it's worth exploring our options.
Okay. We'll do that.
Okay.
All right, and then end of year, I know we, talked about this briefly last meeting, but we just wanted to, share again, we have a ongoing list of, potential end of year encumbrances, that we still need to prioritize, but we've just been adding to it as we go along and adding quotes as we get them. Certainly, we wanna think about the end of this year and using money, but obviously going into a default budget, we also want to make some considerations about what we would like to do, potentially with these end of year funds, to take care of things that we wouldn't be receiving next year.
So on the agenda, we linked the same proposal form that we talked about probably about 2 months ago at this point. And we just updated, you still see 2 tabs down there, just a second tab that we were working on this week. Because as we start to, I know this sounds weird, but we are starting to deal with the FY26 budget, right? Like we're doing ESY planning and doing contracts for everything of those services. So we are starting to get some more concrete numbers. So if you like look at the second tab, for example, we had predicted, 2 months ago when we were starting schedule building, that we'd have a savings of about potentially $36,000 due to that by restricting 6-period classes and some other things. And that number played out exactly that, $36,000. So that's a pretty concrete number right now. And as our ESY for both special education and for regular education, we've been signing those contracts and getting in the different services that we have to do. We've seen some concrete reductions that we'll have in those particular lines. So we added those, and if you can recall, 3 meetings ago, we talked about school psychologist restructuring, and we have those savings now from there. So we haven't taken anything necessarily off this list, but you'll see that we've been able to add savings, if that makes a sense to it. So we could potentially take things off this list. At the same time, as Julie just mentioned, we talk about end of the year encumbrances and possibly doing these. I mean, I see one of this is just my opinion, it's ultimately the board's decision, but one of the things that I personally see is doing some repairs at LMS for some of the sinks in the bathrooms in the nurse's office specifically would be very good and appropriate use of if we have some end of the year funds available. And you'll see those are things we kind of mentioned here, maybe earmarking as these kind of reductions to kind of kind of offset that. So if we look at the reductions we had proposed, updated with this, we'll see it, we have a larger difference of about $37,000. So if we wanted to take stuff off of this list as things that we were thinking of reducing up to that dollar amount, we could start doing those type of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, thank you for at least starting the conversation. Over the next month, Dan, for your benefit, we are gonna have to make a decision, our last meeting in June, for what the board will decide for end-of-year encumbrances. That's when this is finalized, so it's nice to start to, see it in paper and think about it. I guess the question to the board, is there anything that you're seeing first on the encumbrance list that you agree, disagree with, should be added from your perspective? Like, I'd like to open that conversation, so now we're starting to get ahead of it. Like, obviously, repairs and cracks and building and CHS stuff, like,
Yes.
we need to get some numbers behind that.
So we had put out an RFP for that, or an RFQ, excuse me, for that.
Yes.
And didn't get any bites, that's okay. So we're going direct to a couple people to get quotes on it, right? Because we didn't get anyone to bite, so now we can go just chase down quotes. So we're doing with that, Dave's doing that from this company called On the Level that does this type of work. That is something that was referenced in the on-site insight reports, is something that should be addressed relatively soon at CHS, right now, essentially. So that, again, is an excellent, we don't have a dollar amount in here because we frankly don't know. We don't know. That's what we're looking to get done. But that would be a great thing. The LMS, sinks and stuff is on here. I think that would be a good use of that. And while we have budgeted for those things next year, I see these as safety things, which is an appropriate use of end-of-the-year funds, because you want to get the safety of the building kind of in place. You don't have to limit it to that, obviously, but just like, I think that's a natural thing to use end-of-the-year funds for. And we have some estimates and are trying to get more concrete, quotes for this type of stuff. We haven't prioritized any of this. We had just asked, the building principals and the admin teams to just put things on the list, right? So that's where we're at.
One of the things that I know the board has talked about in the past, was CHS bathrooms as well, right? And replacement mirrors and things like that are end of life, for sure. I know the AV equipment, continued upgrades at Campbell continue to be an item that is talked about annually, and some continued upgrades there.
We have a couple safety things that came up from the Alistros. These are smaller expenses, but one of it was, for example, a back speaker at GMS, right? Out the exterior speaker, that so you can hear it from the back fields. LMS too, the side, the gym side, you can't necessarily hear as well with the outdoor speakers. So looking at some of those are relatively small when we're talking about these, but that came up through the Alistro that we held there about a month ago. So we wanted to kind of, I think Chris included those here, but those are a couple of the things that we kind of want to do. We talked about through the budget process, and we have it on this list, the parking lot study. Is that something that you want us to get a hard quote and company from to do that?
The quote information doesn't hurt.
Right.
Do we need to pay for a quote on that? Or is a company willing to come out and give us a quote?
I'm not 100% sure but we can start to figure that out.
I think the reason why we had talked about a study was because of what was going on underground with the water, and so it was something that they would need to get equipment. It was more than just, hey, here's how much it's gonna be to reseal your parking lot kind of quote. It was more, we gotta determine what your actual issues are and why you're having sinkholes that can swallow cars.
So we have 25,000 here because that's from the on-site insight report. I don't know if that's and she took that as a guess too.
I would
that
think
study would be.
Over the next couple of weeks, what I would encourage, just to ask a question, what I would encourage you to do is to reach out to the highway department in town and Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
And just get his thoughts, because they've gone through this now recently at the transfer station.
Okay.
And went through a very large replacement of their asphalt. And very significant, and I'm curious if they had to do a study to do that. I'm thinking not,
Okay, yeah.
because
Kevin's
there's
this-
a local vendor that does this line of work.
Okay,
Okay, that's great.
yeah, we'll reach out.
Thank you.
So there, I think there's a connection there that can be made.
Now, I have a question.
If it's something that we don't need to spend money on
Yeah.
and budget for, like, let's just ask the question.
I have a question for the board as we look at this. Is there no such thing as a bad idea, or is there bad ideas? Because, and I'll give you like a low, like, this is, no pun intended, a layup of one to kind of talk about. So the volleyball netting equipment at LMS has to be replaced, right? Like, we have it in the budget next year. That would be a great thing to do, like, now, with end of the year. But that's athletics, which I know sometimes makes people nervous when you use end of the year funds to cover athletic expenses. But I feel like this is not just like a bonus for our athletic program. This is like, we need this equipment to be
Sounds like it's a
safe and
safety.
functional.
I think
Yes.
that's a great use of
Yeah.
end of year funds.
Agreed.
And then now because that was my layup question, but now I'm gonna take it the next step.
No pun intended.
Yep, see, yeah. One of the things that came up a lot, earlier, and we had some issues about earlier this year, was uniforms, right? Now, is that a step too far for end of the year, or can we use this as an opportunity? And if there are some uniform sets that are in really rough condition, as Tony works to establish a true rotation of uniforms at both buildings, can we clean up some uniform stuff right now?
To me, that would be more like a level 2 priority versus like replacing for safety reasons, the volleyball nets. That would be more of a level 1 priority. I would want to see what else is on the list, what do we have left, and then make that decision.
So it's not necessarily a bad idea to have that conversation.
Correct. Like, to me, that's where the prioritization comes from, because I do think some portion of the discussion of end of year funds is going to bleed into the fact that we have the default budget, and are there things that we can buy now that will help us have, meet the goals that we need to meet
Yes.
for 26. So
Yep.
I would say uniforms was one of the things that would have been cut because it wasn't in the default budget. However, it's still a need, but not necessarily a level 1 need. So
Right.
that's my thought
Yeah.
process, and I don't know what the board, what everyone else thinks.
Yeah, I mean, I think we really need to see the numbers of the repairs to CHS. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these bigger projects that are a need versus a want,
Yep.
right?
It all depends on the priority, what's
Absolutely.
most important.
Absolutely.
But I just don't want to think that we're just trying to like spend money for the heck of it, right?
Right.
Like, uniforms is a thing that like we need to address.
That's a necessary thing that kids need for playing, for example, some type of equipment, that would be more for, a pitching machine or something along those lines, I might be less inclined to do, because that feels more of a want
Yep.
than a need. I mean, it's a good want, it's something that would be
Yeah, yeah,
helpful,
yeah.
but it's just not necessarily the time,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
One of the things we left on here is people keep calling it a gator. I guess it's its technical name, but like
John Deere.
Yeah. For our athletics, and I do want to give a little gentle push for this, because this frankly bothered me. I saw it firsthand this fall. Like, we don't have one here. We were playing, I think it was Summersworth, and a kid broke his leg. Like, and people had to, I helped. Like, we had to carry this kid from the bench to his parents' car so he could go to the hospital. And I just think we're better than that. So like, if we have something like this, drive it over, put the kid on it, and then drive it back. We have one for facilities that was bought, I think it was last year or the year before, I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure. And that's great for facilities, but it's being used for facilities, so there are paint cans on it, lining stuff, like all sorts of different facilities, equipment on it at any given moment. So it's tough to double dip on
I would
that
have
for
to go
athletics.
back and look, but I thought, from my recollection from a couple years ago when this came up, was that it could be a dual purpose. It sounds like maybe it can't be, and that's just not as feasible as we thought it was gonna be at the time.
Yeah, and I think like in a real hard pinch it could be, but just like that was tough to watch first.
Yeah.
Like, and I just think we're better than that. I don't know how, I don't have a more elegant way of saying
I'm not
it, so.
arguing or disputing that, and the need for that, but I have seen the Gator at lacrosse games.
Yeah,
For that purpose.
yeah. And I think we learned a little bit too from the fall, that was a tough look to like be in that situation, so.
I mean, I think in a short pinch, right, getting a process around of when there's athletics, like facilities has gotta prep the Gator for this is now athletics usage and go and do that. Whether it's they gotta clean out the bed of the thing and put on, you know, a board so that way that someone can sit on it or something like that. Just to make sure that it's at least available for use.
Yep.
But I have no hard, if it's needed, get it.
If it's needed to get it, and if we have the money at the end of
Yeah,
the year, and
yeah,
that's
Right.
kind of
First thing
where.
is, what do we really have at the end?
Yep.
And what are the top 10 or
And,
whatever they
and I would prioritize some other things on top of that,
Yeah.
right? Like, but just like, just to put it on people's radars,
Yeah.
that's always just stayed in the back of my head all year, so.
So, Brian, is there anything from the on-site insight report or your CIP for GMS that would be short dollars but would be useful safety or security-wise
I mean, I don't
or
wanna speak,
something like that?
speak for Dan. I mean, there's some low-level ones that actually aren't on site, like the speakers and some of those type
Yeah.
of things, right? I think one of the things Dan's looking at, and jump in here, is like some of the, carpeting and storage things that we had in the budget next year, like, I think we were trying to do a full set of 5 for carpets and stuff like that for grade level.
Systematic replacement of
Yep.
the classroom rugs. 5 years is pretty much end of life when you're talking about, so.
Now,
That's something we should be doing.
Yeah, I put that on the list. The other one is, it's almost like a cubicle divider that we use in one of our special ed rooms. It's okay, but it was like, that was the last time we're moving it. So I would like to have a bit of a more secure base than like, if we move it, it goes boom. So that would be, it's a single piece. That's a one-time expense that.
which was that? I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. I missed what you started with.
Oh, that's the room divider.
That's the thing I was gonna
Room
bring up,
divider
yeah.
For special
Yeah.
services space.
Yeah.
It's a one-time expense. It was put in last year's budget, but, we'll go into default. It's needed, and
That I
so-
think is a safety thing
And, and it's,
for that
Oh,
program.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, it's at the bottom. Yeah.
To answer with on-site insights, so, I didn't link it here, but it's been in previous agendas and stuff, but the capital improvement plan we're trying to develop. Like, this is what, one of the ideas behind it is, I guess I could just put it up there real quick, is identifying the needs of the buildings and the funding sources of where these would come from, and utilizing end of the year funds as something like that. So hopefully it's gonna pop up here, and I will just, increase the zoom so you can actually see it. Like, this is just CHS here, but there are things that would be not necessarily things we would budget for, but are different kind of safety related things that we could use end of the year kind of funds for or encumbrances for. Now, we punted just because of when this report was done and when budgets are developed and everything like that. We punted on this end of the year for anything just because we have to get this plan in place. Like, for example, the idea would be next year at the end of 2026. I can just scroll over here for a sec. These are some items that we could discuss as end of the year funds that need to be in repair, that maybe aren't like, hey, we know this is not necessarily we're gonna put in the budget because there are other priorities, but like, yeah, we're gonna need to redo the flooring in this hallway, for example, or in this case, or whatever the case may be, right? And this could be where we start doing some of the planning for end of the year funds.
Okay.
So I know I'm not directly answering your question about GMS, but this is where I want this to kind of end up.
Yeah.
As kind of the,
No, and
the plan for it and stuff like that.
I spent more than a handful of hours going through this
Yeah.
and everything else, so
Now,
this,
we
I
can
think
get-
is great.
This
but-
is shifted, right?
Right.
Because we were kind of punting on this year because of when we had the report. We can start in on any of this at any time. For example, one of the things on here, I don't remember exactly where it is, but it's under CHS, is to repaint the SAU. Well, we did that this year, right? Like, so it's like a different shade in here now because we checked off that thing, right? And so there, we could look here, this is CHS and LMS on this particular list. So there are definitely things on here we can start kind of maybe looking at and kind of
Okay.
chipping off little by little as we have other funds and stuff like that.
No, I think this interlacing is great between end of year funds, the CIP plan, trying to find the buckets. I just didn't know from all of the FIC meetings and all of the vigorous discussions of short things that we could do now to help out the building. Was
Well,
there anything that cropped to
I mean,
the top of the head?
We've talked about the doors to push.
Yeah, the
safety
delayed
doors.
egress.
I mean, the quote we got, I think, was $75,000 for that. That's not something you're just gonna throw into a budget or something, but that's something we can have a discussion about in terms of safety if we wanna pursue that. Now, I think that was for every exterior door.
Yeah, for 9 doors.
Yeah,
You
so, we could go back to that and not do 9 doors,
Right.
right? Do you focus on the cafeteria doors or something
Right,
along
yeah.
those lines? But that would be a safety thing, I think, related to GMS that we would look at. I mean, we're gonna still have some unexpected expenses pop out. I think the HVAC at the portables at GMS went kaput this week, so, that's a repair that we're gonna have to do that it's not budgeted for, that will eat into the theoretical end of the year funds that we have right now. That's an immediate thing that needs to be done in the short term,
yeah.
so, those are some of the things we'll do.
The only thing I could think of is, and Dave can speak more to this, I know we've had some major plumbing this year, and I don't know how much has been repair versus replacement versus, I
That'd be a
don't
good
know
question
the
for him.
current state of
We
it.
did have to replace one of those things out.
We had to replace a
outright.
pump, but like, I don't know how much of this is intertwined and how much has been replaced to new life for that component and how much was just a major repair, but I would
Right.
defer to Dave on the state of our general plumbing and septic.
So that's kind of the thing that I like, the one septic pump that had to be replaced. I figured there's 2 of them, right? Do we need to preemptively just do the second one because they were roughly the same age,
Yeah.
or is there, hey, I put it in, I really don't like how this looks, and go that way. So that's what I was just trying to dig at. Is there something that may not be explicitly mentioned or said somewhere that we should be thinking about to stave off a backup or a disaster later on?
The only thing you can speak to is where we are with the decking and ramps.
Yeah.
With the
Yes,
portables.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting that done.
But yeah, we have the wooden ramps, but then they're also in concrete footers.
Yep.
And we're seeing some deterioration too.
That would be a great thing, actually, to get a quote.
Wood directly on the concrete, not on a standoff.
It's a concrete footer.
Yeah,
It shouldn't sit on the concrete, it should sit in like a claw or something.
yeah. I was gonna say. So is it like the wood post is directly into the concrete?
No, it sits on like I don't know, it looks
Okay.
like a concrete
Thing.
anchor that has like a 4x4
Yeah.
cutout and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it sits
okay.
into that.
So what I would recommend then, just move it along, right, is continue to iterate, right, continue to put requests in. If you have more requests that need to make it in here, let's do that over the next couple of weeks. Let's continue to talk about this at our next meeting and then make decisions in a month from now.
And again, if you guys, I see it's blank and I definitely understand you don't know yet, but prioritize, like what priority level you would give
Yeah,
some of these
we'll
things.
shift that.
Will certainly give us some insight into what you guys are all thinking.
I think and just last comment, I wanted to bring this up. The one that surprised me on here is actually LMS refinished gym floor. And the reason for that, and this is row 13 for the board, the reason why that surprised me, and maybe it's just my misunderstanding or interpretation of what this is because this board has been told time and time again that the gym floor cannot be refinished.
Every year.
That it's on its last time.
That it's on its
and-
last and it needs to be replaced.
Okay,
We'll ask about
well,
that.
we'll check on that. Maybe we're misstating what that is?
And that
For
that
$2,200
dollar-
bucks,
that
this is-
dollar amount seems very inexpensive just for a refinish.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that also seems very
Maybe it's a
inexpensive for a
re-
replacement.
I don't know, we'll check, maybe that
Yeah.
is something different.
That's,
Let me see if I can find it in the proposed, I had that up earlier. When you look at the reductions due to
Yes.
the default, is there anything you want to discuss there at this time or next time?
Row
Just-
33 needs to be added back in.
Agreed.
I don't blame that close to this, sir.
Without getting into details.
Okay. Can I bring your attention to 42? Row 42.
You can?
That is something that, in the back of my head, I'm trying to get to, that number right there. So, I would like to see how hiring continues to kind of play out, in terms of attrition and savings in that type of area. But, and I know it's a little bit bigger than some other things, but, and that's not something you can do end-of-year funds for. But if we have to make sacrifices, we have to make sacrifices, but that's something that I have in the back of my head to try and get
We
back.
talked about that a few meetings ago too, right? As a possibility.
Yeah, we did, and that is, you know, I just think for our co-curricular programs at the middle school, if we can get that figured out, that would be good, so.
Row 23 should be added to the end of year encumbrance.
Yeah, we have that, I
Has used
think, on the
EOA,
list.
right?
If it's not, we'll add it.
Yeah, it's in there.
And if there's other things that catch your attention there, just let us know, so.
Yeah, and like row 41, the radios, that's something the board can
Yeah.
consider as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right,
That's good.
Okay.
anything else?
on reductions or encumbrances at the moment from anyone?
Nope.
Thank you for that conversation tonight. We'll turn it over to Dr. Taylor for CIA.
All right, I just have a couple of quick committee updates. Last week, we had the last curriculum review committee, and during that meeting, we kind of did a year in review. We did a lot during this first year together, which was great. We're really we made a plan for the start of next year because we've really been kind of going around with the new curriculum review cycle that we put out, and there's a lot of plates spinning in curriculum with the vertical alignment, and kind of everybody's in an overhaul state almost. So we're going to plan to kind of relook at the review cycle and make some edits for next year to make it make more sense for where people are at based on the work that we've done this year and where we're headed. So we're all excited for that. It's a great group of people that are working hard to do a lot of great things. Then this afternoon we did our last learning outcomes task force. Our LOT committee met, and this committee, or this task force, we'll call us our task force, got together later in the year because we were kind of rebranding what was formerly the grading and reporting committee. So we started in February, got together, kind of defined our purpose, figured out what direction we wanted to go, where we want to start. We started with a survey out to staff to kind of get a pulse on where people were at and their feelings of assessment. And then from that data analysis, we thought, we really want to focus on depth of knowledge. So that's where we've been digging in the last couple of months. So tonight at our last meeting, we came up with our first deliverable that we're all working on, which is going to be an infographic coming out to staff. And then we're really going to start to flesh out more of this next year, which we're really excited about. We already have a plan for our first couple of months meetings, how we're going to roll things out to really become a resource bank for people on, because everybody gets stuck in the minutia of like, I'm doing so much, I have so much going on, I can't think of what else and how to vary my assignments, how to vary my questioning, how to do all of those things. So really putting together some resources for people to just, oh, they did this, I'm going to go into that bank and kind of see what they're doing. So that's kind of where we settled for the end of year learning outcomes task force. So it's exciting.
for that.
An assessment.
Appreciate that update.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Shoemaker, right on point. Any questions for Dr. Taylor?
No, I was listening though. So.
All right, moving into public minutes from May 2nd, 2025. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Ames.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. DeWitt. Additional discussion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 302. All right, thank you for that. And then now into new business, and we have the GMS RFP.
Yes, this is the RFP we've been working on. This went through Facilities Committee last night with some additional updates. We put it, I'll give you some of the history, I guess. So we wrote it, sent it to our attorneys, they updated it for us, we brought it to FIC, they provided suggestions, included those suggestions, resent it to our attorneys today. They said, looks good, nothing changed from their perspective, everything is still good there. So that is the most updated one. So we are looking for approval from the board and permission to issue this out and start getting the work done for it and stuff like that.
Is it a vote? Is it a?
Well, you can do what you want. Maybe make a what's it called? A thingy where you discuss that. What motion?
I will.
You know the thing.
You can tell it's the end of the school year, can't you? You know the thing.
I will.
Or you can just start asking me questions about it. So
Does everyone have access?
I do.
I hope you have access. That's not good.
I had access.
I had access. What
I
happened?
don't.
Are you in a different Google profile? 'Cause
No.
that's always what happens to me.
It usually does.
Yeah,
but
I don't
no.
either, but I did
Hold on.
have access earlier, so
Oh, what happened?
I have seen it and I'm comfortable.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it.
I just re-updated your access, so maybe it got turned off accidentally.
I
But
got it now. Yep. Yeah.
And we pretty much included, you know, for FIC people who may be watching, we pretty much just included everything that we discussed last night. Dan took the notes during it. The attorneys felt comfortable with everything that was included in that. If I could just, for sake of highlighting some different things here, if I can bring you the second page, which is the introduction section, talks about the 3 schools. And what we're looking to essentially do is examine, you know, renovation, possible addition as GMS exclusive, or if that makes sense to explore utilizing Campbell in some sort of reconfiguration grades as well, to have that kind of availability as well, and for the firms to have those options kind of in mind as they start to develop possible solutions for us to examine and stuff like that. And included in that introduction section is a lot of previous information related to GMS and the buildings and stuff like that for the firms who would be bidding on that. I try to capture everything that was mentioned last night at FIC as possible documents, so those are all included in there.
Did you get the last one that Ron
Yeah, the
sent out?
NHSSA
Yep.
one is in there too. So they have access to all that. And that kind of summarizes what we're looking for, and some legal language in there that it's our work and what we're doing. The idea is that we're gonna work with this RFP is gonna get us a firm to work with. We're gonna engage that firm in these solutions that then we can the board can ultimately decide, but I'm sure we'll get feedback from other people such as Facilities Committee and so on and so forth. With the target date of having, possibly, like we talked about the timeline last meeting, mid-October at that school board meeting, to have a proposal that we'll start getting the bond together for, and then onto the warrant in March and stuff like that. So, project description, we tried to add to that. That was a recommendation of FIC last night. Worked with Dan a little bit to give that a little bit more beef on the 3rd page there, section 2. And then so on and so forth, the rest of it through.
Could I ask Mr. Mitchell a question?
Sure.
How do you feel about this RFP? Do you feel that this RFP aligns, if you want to come up to Mike, do you feel that this RFP aligns to meeting the needs
across Griffin that we have now been kind of talking about, working towards for the past several years?
Let me say this, with knowing that we have to find the direction that we're going, I believe that this RFP accomplishes the simple goal of getting the right firms in the room to at least have the conversation that will tell us, yes, these are the people that can get us into the direction towards a permanent solution for GMS.
Do you believe the strategy within the RFP enables us to move forward with a plan that doesn't prevent learning to happen within the building in a disruptive way?
I've been very clear that those are questions that I'm always going to ask as any part of a discussion of any plan going forward, which is we have to identify the needs, come up with a plan to address those needs, and then account for the current learning environment that we are in. So, again, is the RFP the solution? No, an RFP isn't the solution. The RFP is the invitation to have the necessary conversations that will lead to
I
solution.
want to make sure it's written in a way and you're comfortable with whoever bids on this RFP, right? That you're comfortable with how it's structured and that we ultimately get bids that are aligned to how this is structured.
I believe that's attractive enough to get the right firms that will give us the guidance that we need to get where we need to go.
I'll make a motion to approve the RFP.
I'll second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. DeWitt. Additional discussion?
Nope, I'm comfortable.
I'll do a roll call vote on this one. Mr. Plansky?
Aye.
Ms. Ames?
Aye.
I am an aye. Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
See where we go from here.
Intends to create that conversation to find that solution.
I appreciate that. We're gonna get this out tomorrow. Just for your note, you're all obviously invited if you wanted, part of a pre-bid meeting that we have on Tuesday, June 3rd. You don't need to be there by any means, but you're always invited to attend if you want. That is a business meeting for us to have with potential firms. So, that's the nature of it. It's not necessarily, it's not a public board meeting or anything along those lines, but, we also don't want to do this in the dark and know that we're being transparent with everything that we're doing as well. So, if anyone wants to join us on.
Can you send us a calendar invite on that?
Yeah,
I think it actually would be very beneficial for us to, I mean, I'm not telling anyone else you have to be there, but. Perfect, yeah.
It's
I
not
mean,
a- it's
even
not a
better.
public-
I think that,
It's not a public meeting, no. It
You know.
is a business meeting. We have to talk to these people as.
I think it's important because this whole RFP thing was the crux of, what we're finding out was the crux of the failure points last time. So I think I'll be there.
All right, policies.
We've taken a bit of a hiatus on
was
policies.
gonna ask.
There have been other things that have been higher priority than policy at the moment, but the hope is we're gonna get back to it. I'm gonna be honest, probably July. I think June is gonna be with end of the year financial, end of the year activities. It's hard to get a whole lot done there. I'm certainly willing to if we can find some meeting times, but.
Yeah, I know we're trying to find some meeting times and it's just hard right now. I mean, we, in the office, we've been trying to, I haven't even shared this with you yet. Like, been trying to identify maybe some policies that we would like to see, going into next year that
Yeah.
like we look at, doesn't necessarily mean change, but like that we need to look at,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like there was a good question, it's more of a procedure thing, but is worth a conversation around, something involving AP exams and weightings and stuff like that. So, looking at that, looking at the related policy and the procedures we use for that, things that have become timely as the school year has
As
kind
you
of
go
come
through
forward.
it, yep. Yeah, so I anticipate probably is July will be the next time that you see new policies on here, but that doesn't mean we may be able to find something together
Yeah.
in June.
We've been, this was a little pet project of mine about a month and a half ago, but got, other things came up, so I have to go back to it. And I know, Andrew, you had done this as well, to just go through, kind of all the policies and kind of, cross-reference them with NHSBA and
Yep.
right, so on and so forth. So doing that again and making sure, because there's been a lot of updates to
Updates, yeah.
those as well, so, yeah.
So that's where we're at with policy.
All right, appreciate that update. FIC update.
Well, RFP. It's,
Yeah.
Brian and Julie was able to get a very well detailed RFP based upon several examples, so it's not just out of thin air. I think it does strike that balance of going full detail, and we're inviting companies to help us discover what that rate solution is. Beyond that, we have put the governance to the side just because we came up with a very tight timeline for this project. So I prioritized last night just getting the RFP through the review and here. So the next meeting, which is scheduled for June 12th, I was going to work with John to see if we can push that back 1 week somehow, so then that way we can get to the governance. And with the governance, we did notify that we're going to have an official note taker. So now Jan's going to help us with the note taking as well. So with that governance is then there's been several comments, minor changes, some major ones, but the way that I'm going to handle that is that it's going to be a vote on by the FIC. Is that the official change they would like to recommend to the school board, yes or no? And go from there. And then it comes back to the school board, and then we approve from there on that governance. The one thing I would like to ask is trying to get all of the official members of the FIC into an email, and remember, because there's like 13 of us, is it possible to create a distribution list, or what I call a distribution list, for once the new members are appointed for the FIC? So then that way it would be like sending an email to like the school board, right? It would be that would make a lot of people's lives so much easier.
I think Chris can do that, right?
Yeah, I think we have to
Isn't there
give
an
people.
issue with the fact that you had some non-district?
The issue is this: we got to give them Litchfield SD emails.
Yeah.
Like if it's going to be a district distribution list, right?
Okay.
That was the problem.
Which I mean, you can, right? Like we give you all Litchfield SD emails, right? So we
Also
can
fill
just
out
have
W-2s, though.
What's that?
We also fill out W-2s for the district.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
different.
So I mean, it is a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you have to consider is like then people could be reaching out with an official district email.
Right.
And they're not
So
really.
Right.
the
Okay.
backside of it, the challenge of it from us being a Google school, which I like, I know people like their Word and everything else, is they have to be Google emails to be in the distribution list. So,
Okay.
That's a restriction within Google.
Yeah.
Isn't Google the best?
It's awesome.
Honestly, I
helpful
do
in the school
like it.
setting.
It's just I'm used to Word. I'm used to Microsoft products for document creation. Okay, might take some more
now if
thinking
you
about.
can do it through,
Can't Outlook do it? I
yeah,
feel like
if you can do
Outlook
it
can
through
do it.
Outlook.
I know Outlook can create a singular distribution list,
But I don't think, like, for example, Renee or Chris can't do it from our stuff, right? But if you had used your Microsoft email, like not your Litchfield SD email,
Right.
Like, you might be able to, and then
And then just put your school district email as a member of
As
the
a
group.
member, yeah.
Yep.
So then
Yeah.
you're just gonna get it in two places, but that's okay.
Because we got a couple of people with Hotmail accounts on there, so.
Yeah, there's Hotmail, there's Yahoo, there's a couple people I know created their own, like, just free Gmail to do it that way, so they can get access to the drive and stuff like that. I saw an AOL account.
That's what I was just saying, is it AOL?
My wife's still got
But-
an AOL account.
When you figure it out, feel free to remove me from the list because
Oh,
I
come
keep getting
on.
all of the FIC emails and I
Come
don't need them
on.
anymore.
Come on, you're the backup though.
One other FIC item that I'd like to talk about this evening is I received a text from Mr. Oblinus directly about trying to solicit my opinions on FIC matters, which I felt highly inappropriate. I did share that with Ms. Ames. I wanted to bring the board's attention to that. I do think, in my opinion, that it's time to remove Mr. Oblinus from the FIC. I'm prepared to make a motion tonight to do that. I understand, Mr. DeWitt, that you're going to move forward with governance in over the next month or so. At this point, it's continued to be brought to my attention that there is frustration, I think is probably the appropriate word, amongst several members of the FIC and community, just in terms of ways of working. And I understand that our last, or a couple of meetings ago anyways, maybe it was 2 months ago, where we appointed on a short-term basis to get to a recommendation. We now have that recommendation.
Yep.
And at this point, until the FIC reorganizes and puts forward community appointments back to the board, I'd like to recommend that Mr. Oblinus is removed, and then you guys can reorganize, and if you appoint Mr. Oblinus back to the committee, great.
Okay.
We can consider that, but you guys need to figure that out and reorganize first and make those recommendations back to the board.
Sounds good.
So I would like to make a motion at this point to terminate Mr. Oblinus from the FIC up until a point where the FIC considers reorganization.
I'll second.
Motion by myself, second by Ms. Ames.
And that's on the basis that we originally appointed him,
Correct.
as opposed to the other members who were community volunteers.
That's correct.
Understood.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I will oppose.
Abstained? That carries 4-1-0. Thank you very much. All right, school board comments. I'd like to give a shout out to Footloose.
Yeah.
What a great production that was, right? So thank you, Ms. Harrison, for the invite. Great job by all the students who participated in that. I did send out a note to Mr. Lammy. I hope that made it out to the
Yeah.
students. Okay, great. So, fun show. And
It was exhausting. It was fun. It's I've done that once in a while in my career. Like I've done something with the performing arts programs. This was probably the heaviest lift I've had to do, and
still waiting for you to bust a move.
You did a little at the end.
at the end.
Yeah.
But just kudos to the kids and Mr. Lammy and Ms. Harrison and everyone involved in the production. Just the time and the energy and the effort to kind of pull it off is incredible. The kids did great. It is that weekend. It's so long and intense, you know. I mean, I at least had the ability to leave Sunday after the show and just go home. They had to strike down the set and do everything with that as well. But the kids are incredibly talented here, and they just did an outstanding job. And it was really fun to kind of see it all behind the scenes too. So, yeah, we had great crowds too. So thank you everyone who came. About 3 of the 4 shows are close to sellouts, which is awesome, you know. And that's great support for the program because obviously all those kind of proceeds go to help, you know, future shows and everything connected to that. So thank you to everyone in the community coming out to support the shows as well. So
I just want to say great job to the staff for the getting through SAS as a parent of a 3rd grader. I have to say, you're still getting through it. I thought it was over.
No.
Well, my daughter thinks it is. Well, I can tell you, as a parent of a 3rd grader, you guys did a great job making it less scary. They started off scared, and then I believe Mr. Mitchell went in and said that to the 3rd graders that they have a history of beating the 4th graders. So she felt very encouraged by that. And it seemed like I asked her.
Healthy competition.
Yes.
I heard, according to her, she finished up yesterday, and I asked her how it was, and she said it wasn't that bad. So, I think you guys did a good job helping, and the teachers obviously did a good job helping prep them for that. So, just want to say that.
Yeah, a big thumbs up to CHS as well for similar testing. I know I happened to be there presenting to a class on the Friday that the AP testing went down for the AP Psych test with kids in the library. And again, it just happened to be a break from when I was having the conversation. So I was in the counseling office as these kids are coming in, and Val, Miss Nelson, and Mary, they were all handling it incredibly well, and just to be able to reschedule, and then I know that they had to reschedule Springfest because of it, so there was just a lot of dominoes, particularly with this time of year, so everyone handled it really, really well. I'm sure it gave everybody a few gray hairs, but
And
Almost
that
done.
that was something that happened nationwide, and
Well, that's the
it was
thing.
happening here, so we were dealing with it here. And then my wife's like is in charge of testing in her school, so she's blowing up my phone too. Is this happening at your school too? Yep,
But
it's
what was
happening here
weird
too.
was 8 of them were able to get in and 20 were not. And
Right.
so to have some kids that had to sit there and continue to test while around them is chaos, and removing the chaos so those kids can do what they need to do and the timeline they need to do it in. And so again, everyone was just so professional with the way that they handled it. And yeah, but they turned it into a positive. I mean, I can tell you for my senior who thought that was her last AP exam, and she was all, not that she's all done, but there's a lot of coasting happening at the moment. I know, isn't that shocking?
Never.
There's some minimal coasting. She now has she has to wait until Friday until she's officially really, really coasting. So anyway, that prom was great. I read something on Facebook that said that May is December in a tank top and shorts, and that's exactly what it is. There is something every single day going on in every single school all the time. All the end of the year things, all of the senior things, it's just a lot going on, and I know a lot of our staff are going above and beyond to make these events happen, to make the kids feel special in whatever the activity is. And so I think, this is where our district really shines. I know a lot of districts do it, but I feel a lot of pride in our district this time of year when I see all of the things that are happening and the efforts that people are making to do those things, from, the concerts to, chorus to the Footloose to sports, all the sports that are happening. And so there's been a lot of rain, so there's a lot of makeup games, and there's just a lot of chaos. So thank you to all of our staff all the way through for everything that they're doing.
Well said. Thank you.
I want to thank Mr. Burnell and Brian for the late night shuffling Monday night to figure out how we can hold the meeting last night. It was greatly appreciated to get through it, so that way FIC had a chance to review the RFP to hold our timeline. I also want to say congratulations to the team at CHS for Footloose. Sorry I could not participate, but my work life decided to blow up in the last 3 weeks, as I am hopefully on the other side of that. But otherwise, I think very well done this year by everybody.
Awesome. All right, moving into manifest. So we have our payroll manifest from May 7th, 2025. That was payroll of $385,101.55. We have a payroll, which was a manual check of $1,289.03. We have voluntary 403B deductions for $234,217.57. We have our LSSA dues of $525.40. There was an accounts payable for $410,022.61. Accounts payable as well for $47,379.23. We have payroll for $379,122.81. Another voluntary 403B deductions of $9,207.10. And credit cards for $11,124.46. With that, we'll move into our second community input this evening. You're good. All right.
May I just add two
Yes.
small things?
Please.
One, just a shout out to LMS and really the community for coming through for Career Day last Friday. We had a lot of community volunteers come in. I think over 40 people from the community coming in to talk about their careers to our middle school students. So for everyone who was able to attend and help us out with that, the kids really, really enjoyed it and benefited from it. So we're hoping to make that an annual thing that we do. And Jocelyn down at the middle school who organized it all just did an amazing job putting it all together. So I should have put that in my own report earlier. I apologize for not doing that. But when you were talking about all the great things our staff are doing, that made me remind to kind of give a shout out for that as well. And then I just have one small proud dad moment, because I know I've heard people get a kick when I worry about my daughter in the weekend messages. So she's got a game right now, and she scored a hat trick tonight in lacrosse. So
Nice.
So Miss Landry, if you see her at school tomorrow, you can tell her that. She'll be like, "How do you know?"
No, I'm sorry,
you know. No, it's okay. It's all right. It's life. We got video. That's the beauty of the current age and stuff.
Want
like
to show
that.
it on the board?
Once I get it, I can put it up there. That'd be great. Yeah. So I just want
College
proud dad.
highlight reel getting going already.
There we go. There we go. Got to pay for those bills somehow. So thank you for indulging.
Awesome. No, appreciate that update as well. So, with that, the board does have, some business tonight in non-public under RSA 91A3 and matters A and C. So with that, I will entertain a motion to move into non-public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shoemaker,
Second.
second by Ms. Ames. Roll call vote. Mr. Plansky?
Aye.
Ms. Ames?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker? That carries 5-0. And at this point, we will now close our public meeting.